Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hang out with this nerd.
Ted.
Again, we continue our series, Why 5th Edition Dungeons & Dragons Needs Eberron, Dragon Marks and Dragon Marked Houses.
Jump down to the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So our stroll through memory lane with Eberron continues. As you can see, we have this big book of 3rd edition books as well as 4th edition for Eberron. And that's exactly, we're going to be talking about Dragon Marks and Dragon Marked Houses. You kind of have to talk about them together. They go hand in hand.
So the interesting thing about Dragon Marks is they are magical tattoos. And tattoos isn't even really the proper term because you kind of develop them or are born with them, but they're magical powers. So it's kind of more like magical birthmarks.
Yes, tattoo is a bit of a misnomer, and they don't appear until you hit puberty as well, or even later in life.
Right. So they are something that you can add to a character if you were playing in the previous editions. And actually, there's a bit of unearthed arcana about them as well, right?
There is.
So there's something that they appear. All right, well, once you take the prerequisites and whatnot. Now, the great part about them, or the challenging part, depending upon how you look at them, is certain. Well, they're all linked to only certain races. So I couldn't get, as a human, the mark of healing because I'm not a halfling.
Yes, you know that said, Mark belongs to a specific house. So I guess that's where we should start at the houses, and then we can work our way through them and basically what the house is about, what races, and what their tattoo is. There are 13 dragon marked houses, sort of. Yeah, there's one more that we've got a list, and it's actually on the list, but we'll get to that one anyway.
All right, so House Cannith, that's humans, and they have the mark of making. These guys are your mage rights, your artisans, alchemists,
Artificers.
artificers. Not artisans, artificers, and they make up the Tinkerers Guild and the Fabricators Guild.
Yes, the Tinkers kind of go travel around and fix things. Basically like medieval times Tinkerers, except for with a little bit of magic. And their tattoo is associated with things that repair damage, fix things. Also, I don't think it's fair to mention House Cannith without mentioning the Warforged, because they basically took part in constructing them.
And there are essentially a whole race of people that are made by this house. And while the Warforged Forge isn't really operating anymore,
Allegedly.
allegedly, according to one of these books,
Including to the Treaty of Thronehold.
it is they were construct people created by this house.
And all the Dragon Mark houses actually employ people that aren't actually what they would consider blooded, so you could actually still belong to the house and not actually be of the house per se by your lineage.
Right, but you're not going to get access. You can be a tinkerer, you can be a fabricator, but you're not getting the mark unless you're a human in House Cannith.
Correct. So next that brings us to House Beneath.
So these are humans. They have the mark of Sentinel. They are the Defenders and Blade Marks Guild. And they're mercenaries, they're militant, and they try to stay as neutral as possible. So you got coin and you need soldiers, you need mercenaries, these are the guys to go to.
Right, or you could hire out of a Blade Marks Guild and get bodyguards.
So the next house is House Galandia. That is a race of halflings, and they have the mark of hospitality. And theirs is in my opinion, the most confusing guild, the Hostellers Guild. Is that how you say it?
I think, yeah, it is. So basically, they're kind of like they run the hotels and like spas in Eberron, kind of. But I've also seen some lore where it also made them seem a little bit darker as well in one of their sects.
Sect, SECT.
But yeah, basically they have the mark of hospitality, and that their powers are basically around succor and comfort.
So they're basically like, okay, you want someone to kind of serve you. That's kind of where they they kind of fall into.
Well, the thing too with them is like when you go to an inn or a tavern, you want to see their mark on it because they're basically they approve, even if it's not part of the house per se. You can have your establishment approved by them, and you know if you see their mark, you're going to get a standard of quality.
Right. Now the house is known prominently in the city of Gatherhold, which is a halfling city, and it's kind of a
Well, that's what the seat of power is.
okay. It's the seat of power is in Gatherhold. In most D&D settings, I'm not used to seeing this is an entire city of halflings. So the next house is House Madani, and they are half elves. They bear the mark of detection and have the Warning Guild.
They focus on bodyguards, inquisitors, security,
Scouts, and sentries. So that they tend to be not loners, but people who are able to work in small groups or as individuals.
security specialists. Then we have House Dirac, and they are humans and half-orcs. They have the mark of finding. These guys tend to be prospectors and bounty hunters. What do they prospect, you might ask? They actually are the ones that go out and find dragon shards, which we haven't even delved into or touched upon.
So we'll get to that. Just stay tuned for that particular video. Next up is House Vidalis, and that is humans with the mark of handling. And essentially, these guys are the ones who are going to handle and control animals.
Yeah, the whole house of Dar.
Dar. Yeah, Beastmaster.
Yeah. So, but they also are responsible for breeding mage-bred animals as well. So they're not willing to let things be. They have to improve on nature.
So next up is House Jurasco. There's another halfling house, and they have the mark of healing. And their basic motto is anyone who needs aid will receive it. So I don't know if that's an actual motto, but that's kind of how they think and believe.
Yeah, and you're much more likely to go to a House of Jurasco for healing than to a temple in Eberron.
House Kundarak, is that how you pronounce that one?
It's close enough. I'll let you know in the comments. They'll send you to something saying it.
I think that's the coolest of the names. And I'm certain that Dave is going to jump right in there because it's all about dwarves.
Yes, they have the house of theirs is the mark of warding. So they're all about protection. They're the bankers in Eberron.
The bankers and money lenders are really what they're about. When their mark came, showed up for the first time, they realized that they need to move away from, as they called it, more barbaric ways and move into more civilized society. I thought...
Which is kind of funny for dwarves anyway, because they're so organized and industrial to begin with of all the races. Our old ways are kind of barbaric.
So I thought reading their history stuff was pretty cool.
So House Orion, humans with the mark of passage. So these guys actually control all the trade by land. So they're also where you want to go if you need to teleport somewhere far away and fast. It's not cheap though.
House Civis are your gnomes, and it's about time they got some mention on this list. They have the mark of scribing, and they are your scribes and orators. So they have become the master of not only the written but the spoken word as well.
Also they control sending stones. So in Eberron, unlike other campaign worlds, you're actually able to send messages far distance, and you would do it through House Civis.
House Firelin, however you want to pronounce that one, are elves, and they have the mark of shadow. Now there's some cool history with this house because they are actually divided, and we'll get into their rival house, I guess you could call it, in a little bit. But they were divided between the mark of shadow and the mark of death, and they obliterated the mark of death. And these guys are your entertainers and artisan guild, but those artisans and entertainers are actually used as a network of spies and information gatherers.
You'd think by now the word would be out. Don't use these guys, they're spying on you. That brings us to House Lorander, and these guys are super cool because they actually control all the travel and commerce through air and sea. These are the ones that are piloting your elemental vessels that go across the sea and across the air as well. And they also construct them too.
And that's not all. They're the rain callers who have the ability to actually control the weather enough that they can make it rain to have the farmers grow more crops. So House Thorani, which is the other half of the House Fairlin, is the one that used to bear the mark of death, and as I said earlier, that house obliterated it. So they occasionally will still have the mark of shadow. They are the assassins and host the Shadow Network. It's the only one that's not listed as a guild.
As we said, there is actually a bonus 13th mark, and the reason why there are dragon marked houses is as the marks started to appear, something else began happening. When they found that mixing bloodlines actually caused what we called aberrant dragon marks. And these didn't have any rhyme or reason. They didn't follow any of the other schemes, and they would even sometimes be disfigured, look scarred, or even infected, and they always look that way. These are called aberrant marks, and it was decreed by the 12 or
13.
well 13, but then 12 dragon marked houses that there would be no interbreeding, and they actually try to exterminate anyone with the average dragon mark. Well, there was something called War of the Mark, where Halas Tarkanan, and I'm probably extra Anan in there, but Tarkanan, maybe, but he tried to form a house of his own and fight against the other dragon mark houses. They actually had some of the most powerful marks amongst them, but they couldn't withstand the might of all 12 houses together. So they've been obliterated, and House Tarkanan technically is no more.
Technically, it's depending upon how you want to run your game, you can change the storyline or just still have it as them trying to have this fostered in the background. But the aberrant mark is seen by all of the primary nobles of these houses as an abomination and should be obliterated. So that makes it all the much more fun for your heroes to choose this house or choose that
mark. Yeah. So a couple cool facts. One is all commerce throughout the Five Nations is controlled by the dragon marked houses. They're basically neutral. They're all Switzerland. They have their own conclaves that are almost like embassies, and they follow their own rules and their own laws, and they all kind of work together for maximum profit, more or less.
As long as profit is being had, yes. If things start to go awry, well, then they start to go awry.
And as I mentioned, they don't allow intermarrying between the houses because of fear of more aberrant dragon marks appearing. They actually were all neutral in the 100-Year War, the last war, and basically played all sides.
Right. So is this enough for you to decide that Eberron needs to be in 5th edition? Put your comments down below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out over on Facebook.
So until next time, stay nerdy.